The pop star Justin Bieber has announced that he's been diagnosed with Lyme disease. There had been speculation on social media that the Canadian singer had a drug problem. Well, Julia Knight from Lyme Disease UK joins me on the line now. And Julia, thanks for joining me. It has been a difficult time for Justin Bieber because of the speculation about what was wrong with him. And maybe many people don't know what this disease is all about. Can you just explain to us?
Yes, I can, and I do agree that it must have been a difficult time for him. Lyme disease is a bacterial infection, and it's passed on if you get bitten by an infected tick. If it's not diagnosed and treated very promptly, which often it isn't in the UK, it can become a very insidious and debilitating, sometimes lifelong illness.
And he was also suffering from a chronic viral infection. He was saying it had been a rough couple of years. So how do you think he got this disease? I mean, it's spread by ticks, isn't it?
Yeah, so he will have been bitten by a tick. They carry the disease. But lots of people don't even know they've been bitten by a tick because they can be as small as a poppy seed. They attach if you've been walking in woodland, long grass. We've even had people bitten in their own back gardens. London parks, like the rugby player Matt Dawson was bitten in a London park. So the tick latches on. It's sitting on a blade of grass, waiting for a meal to walk by. It doesn't have to be a human; it can be an animal, and it's looking for a blood meal. So you brush past it, it jumps off the grass onto you, and then it will find a nice warm place on your body to attach. When they attach, they inject a sort of local anaesthetic type substance, so you wouldn't often know that you have been bitten. They will feed until they're full of blood, and quite often just drop off before the person even notices.
And some of these ticks are actually quite prevalent in some parts of Scotland too. So in a way, people should be maybe looking out for some of the kind of typical symptoms. What should people be looking out for then? What difference in their health might they find?
Well, Scotland is a high-risk area for Lyme disease, particularly the Highlands. So it's really important to get this awareness out there. So what would happen if they got bitten? A proportion of people will develop over the next few days or weeks, not straight away, a rash that gradually spreads outwards. And in some cases, it can resemble a bullseye or a target, but it can be a flat rash too. But the thing to look out for is it generally doesn't itch, it's not painful, and it spreads slowly outwards. If you have a rash like that, that is diagnostic for Lyme disease in itself and should be treated right away without blood tests. It should be treated straight away. And
would that be in the chest or face or legs or?
It can be wherever the tick has bitten you.
Right.
So obviously that's an obvious sign, but not everybody gets the rash, which makes it even more complicated. So typically if somebody who doesn't get a rash or ignores a rash, doesn't know what it is, doctor doesn't know, because that does happen. Most people start with a flu-like illness, normally at a time of year, but not always, when you wouldn't expect to get flu. So headaches, aching muscles, fever. Lots of people complain of a very stiff, sore neck. So a sort of flu-like illness. And if that's not picked up quickly and treated quickly, then the bacteria goes on to disseminate through your body, and it can cause neurological problems, it can cause heart problems, as it did for Matt Dawson, it can cause joint problems. So you can see, if we don't have the awareness out there, if we can prevent tick bites in the first place, that's ideal. But we also need to have far more awareness, not just
Just speaking about the awareness, actually, you talked about doctors. If someone presented these symptoms at a family GP, for instance, would Lyme disease be one of the things they'd be looking for, or is it perhaps something that many GPs aren't maybe considering, do you think?
Well, I would like to say they would, but actually we find that many people go to the GP and the doctor doesn't consider Lyme disease at all, particularly in Scotland. It should be on their mind if somebody's displaying these sort of symptoms because of the high risk in Scotland. But we do find that many doctors just don't even consider it. The bacteria carries on infecting the body. People become very ill and debilitated. They get sent to all sorts of consultants, rheumatologists, neurologists, cardiologists, depending how it's affecting them. Many people end up with a diagnosis of something like chronic fatigue syndrome, A, because the doctor hasn't considered Lyme disease, and B, because the testing used in the UK is not 100% reliable, and the NICE guidelines for treating Lyme disease confirms that they're not reliable for various reasons.
Julia Knight from Lyme Disease UK, thank you very much for joining us.